What's up, everybody? This is Charles Arnaz from Charles Arnaz World. You are watching The Griot, and we have a excerpt from a book called "I Am Raymond Washington," written by Zach Fortar. Forte, is that how you say it? Damn it, public school system. Anyway, but anyway, this is going to be an excerpt from the book. I am Raymond Washington. Raymond Washington is the actual uh, founder of the infamous game, the Crips. Let's go ahead and check it out. Give me a thumbs up button and hit that subscribe button, y'all. Let's check it out, and I'm gonna come back with my reaction.
The Avenues. According to popular myth, the Avenue Boys gang was one of the more prominent and violent gangs in South Central Los Angeles, not to be confused with the Avenues or Avenidas, a Sereno set that had and still has a deep and well-known hatred of black people. The gang was being led by an athletic and muscular teen, Craig Munson. Raymond joined the gang in his early teens and reportedly had an altercation with Craig's younger brother. Craig did not appreciate his younger brother being beaten up by Raymond, so he retaliated. Another account of Raymond's split from the Avenue Boys is in All Hood Publications. It says, Raymond's oldest brother and Craig Munson got into a fight. Shortly after Raymond got into a fight with Big Pookie, Eastside Pookie, after slapping Pookie with an open fist. Pookie was one of Munson's proteges and was given the name Baby Munson. Big Munson and Baby Munson got together and retaliated against Raymond and disciplined him. This allegedly resulted in the split of Raymond Washington from the Avenue Boys. According to the article, this was in 1969, and Raymond was attending Edison Junior High School. The article goes on to say that he went there and organized a group of neighborhood friends and founded the Baby Cribs in admiration for the Avenue Boys. The article explains that the name Cribs was relative to the younger generation and used to mean babies or the younger generation of a gang. So in effect, it meant the Baby Avenues. Analyzing this critically, with my knowledge of gangs and gang membership, it makes absolutely no sense. I have never witnessed a falling out like Raymond Washington is alleged to have had with Craig Munson and Baby Munson, where the exiled gang member then went on to form their own gang out of admiration for the one they'd been exiled from. Perhaps to the layperson this makes sense. I cannot accept it as factual. This account of why Raymond left the Avenue Boys is widely and blindly accepted as truth and fact. Why would Raymond pay homage to the gang he just left on such bad terms? If anything, I would expect the exact opposite to be the case. The more I investigated the specific details of Raymond Washington's life, and specifically anything surrounding the formation of the Crips, the less I found facts and the more I found fiction, a whole hell of a lot of fiction. Like I said before, the myth that surrounded Raymond Washington grew, and continues to grow, as facts become blurred and original witnesses to the events die off. Here are some of the more creative accounts of the formation of the Crips. According to A Guide to Understanding Street Gangs by Al Valdez, intended for law enforcement use only, one of the most popular perspectives presented to law enforcement has been called the Washington High School history. By the 1970s, the most popular gang in Watts, California was a gang called the Avenue Boys. The gang was led by Craig Munson, Stanley Tookie Williams, and Raymond Washington. They developed a unique style of dress that was just as intimidating as their reputations. The Avenue Boys wore Al Capone-style hats, leather coats, and Levi's or sharkskin pants. They also wore an earring in the left ear and used walking sticks or closed umbrellas when they walked. The story continues. Raymond separated from the Avenue Boys and moved to West Los Angeles, where he attended Washington High School. Raymond developed a new following, and gang members wore distinctive clothing that separated them from other street gangs. His new gang used blue handkerchiefs, blue sweatshirts, and Levi's blue jeans, tennis shoes, and baseball caps. Additionally, Raymond is reported to always walk with a cane. Raymond, Tookie Williams, and another guy named Michael Concepcion began to victimize students that attended Centennial High School. They would steal leather-sleeved varsity jackets, and in a short period of time, they developed a significant following. According to the story, Sylvester Scott and Benson Owens were attacked by Stanley Tookie Williams and Raymond Washington, along with a small group of followers. Here is where it gets really imaginative. Washington was reported to have been confined to a wheelchair after being severely injured in a gang-related incident. Benson and Scott refused to be intimidated and victimized and fought off their attackers. They claimed to have lived on Piru Street in Compton.
Mm.
As the fight ended, the two groups exchanged words, and allegedly someone in Benson's group made the comment as the wheelchair-bound Raymond Washington and Stanley Tookie Williams were leaving, "Don't mess with anyone from Piru Street, and take that crip nigger with you." Scott later claimed to be the founder of the first blood set, Piru Street, and Benson claims to have founded the West Side Pirus. This is an imaginative but severely flawed account of the split Raymond had with the Avenue Boys, and the reason for the name Crips. Raymond never lived on the west side of Los Angeles,
All
and he
four.
was never confined to a wheelchair for any reason. Al Valdez, the author of the book, had obviously been duped by the Bloods gang members he had interviewed.
Mm.
Perhaps the reason for the wheelchair myth can be answered by looking at another former gang member, and now musical producer, Mike Shaft Concepcion. He appeared on the BET TV channel and made the claim that he was a founder of the Crips. Concepcion appeared with the actor James Amos on The Monique Show. They were there to promote an anti-gang program they had designed called Gangs at Sea. They claimed that removing the gang members from central Los Angeles to an isolated island at sea for 3 days would end their hatred for each other. They made the ridiculous claim that the gang members went from bitter enemies to singing songs by a campfire in just 3 days. Perhaps this is where the idea that Raymond Washington had been confined to a wheelchair came from, and that is where this particular myth about the name of the gang originated. I asked Gerard if he knew what the real reason was for the split between Raymond and the Avenue Boys. He laughed and said, "Yeah, you have to understand my brother, Reggie, was a talented musician. He played in the Fremont High School Band and the Florence Youth Band, playing the flute and piccolo, and he was also very popular at school. In 1969, Reggie was voted the homecoming king at the high school he attended. Craig Munson's girlfriend had been voted the homecoming queen, and Munson felt that Reggie was paying far too much attention to his girlfriend since they were the king and queen of the dance.
Mm.
After the homecoming dance was over, Craig Munson was jealous of Reggie and pissed off. So Craig confronted Reggie and he pulled a gun on my brother, sticking the gun in his face, telling him to step off of his girl.
Mm.
Reggie was pretty shook up, you know. When my big brother, Ronald Joe, found out about the incident, he went looking for Munson. He found him at 81st and Avalon. Munson was there at a hamburger joint hanging out, and Ronald Joe put in some work on Munson.
Mm.
He made sure that Munson knew that he made a serious mistake pulling a gun on Reggie. Raymond went looking for the younger Munson to make his point as well. Gerard said he did not know what happened, but heard that Craig Munson might have tried to punish Raymond for the fight. Gerard said he remembered seeing Raymond with a busted lip at that time, and I think that the fight with Munson may have been the reason. Whether or not Raymond left the Avenues because of the incident between Reggie and Craig, or if he left because of a fight with Craig and Baby Munson, he did leave the Avenues saying, "Fuck the Avenues. I'm going to start my own gang." I found this to be a much more credible account of the split. It makes more sense than a story where Raymond leaves the gang after being beaten up, and yet is brimming with admiration for the people who had just kicked his ass.
Right.
As a side note, this account of Raymond leaving the Avenues gang and then forming his own gang and naming it out of respect and admiration for them is the first and the only account I have ever found in all my research of Raymond Washington ever losing a fight. If there was a pivotal moment that could have derailed the formation of the Crips, perhaps this one incident is it. If the incident with the Avenues had played out differently, who knows what would have happened? I don't know. But I can see that this was the place in Raymond's life that if he had taken a left turn instead of a right, a lot of his enemies might have survived. Literally, thousands of lives would most likely have been saved had things gone differently.
Mm-hmm.
In the documentary, Crips and Bloods, Made in America, narrated by Forrest Whitaker, a gang detective makes the claim that there were 15,000 known gang-related deaths at the time of filming. It would not be wise in a few short months from this split with the Avenues to be an enemy of Raymond Lee Washington. The account Gerard Barton gave of Raymond Washington splitting from the Avenue Boys is certainly more accurate than many of the stories being passed around, but it still did not answer the question, where did the name of the gang came from?
Mm-hmm.
While doing research in books and articles written by academics, people in law enforcement, and retired or former Crips gang members, I found there to be many stories about where the name of the gang originated. The book, A Guide to Understanding Street Gangs, lists 3 additional and different accounts on how the Crips got their name. The first was that Raymond Washington always used a cane when he walked and had been rumored to have needed a wheelchair at some point.
Y'all, that is just a snippet of I Am Raymond Washington. If you want to hear the rest of that, go ahead to Audible and purchase it and support these young authors and the story about the founder of the most notorious gang in the world, the Crips. Leave your comments. I don't know. This is pretty interesting. It's always been a lot of folklore about how this whole thing started, in Los Angeles. That's been going on for decades and decades. But it all started with one man. This is his story. Pretty interesting, man. What do y'all think? What y'all just heard? Leave it in the comments. A lot of folklore. Like he said, this is what, over 40-some years ago? I'm trying to think. He was murdered in 1979. So that's what, it was been over 40 years. So, when, stories get passed down and people get older and pass on, sometimes the stories end up being, going this way, that way, no one knows where the truth lies. But anyway, what do y'all think about this? Leave your comments and go ahead and support this book on Audible. I am Raymond Washington, and subscribe to the Griot. This is Charles Arnaz World. Y'all take care.